Crimson Desert is almost here and I can't wait to play. So just yesterday, Pearl Abyss, the developers of the game, gave us the feature overview trailer and it looked really amazing. I was always skeptical about this game from when it was announced back in like 2019? I never thought it would be like the big names in the industry, but now, after so many years, they have finally reeled me in on the hype. I haven't talked about this game in my channel before, and that's because I was not really excited for it. But after watching the trailer, now I can't wait. So without further ado, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. Okay, so Pearl Abyss released their trailer for the game showcasing the overall story, characters, yes, characters, because apparently there are more than just Cliff. They also gave us a good view of the open world, the NPCs, the areas, and some of the mechanics. The looks or the graphics of this game is amazing. I mean, just looking at this game, at the cinematic shots and the environment feels good. Yeah, it is more on the fantasy side of things, but I don't mind that. To be honest, bright, vibrant colors look better for these types of games than the dark, dulled, quote-unquote realistic colors, in my opinion. Some games do make it work, don't get me wrong. Having a realistic world in 4K is awesome, but I just love how games like Horizon have these bright greens and reds and yellows on their environment, making the scenes pop out more. I didn't really see too much in-your-face particle effects on the trailer, which is a good thing. There are many effects, but none of them are like the main focus. Weapon hits, the cloak, and some minor actions do generate particles, but it does seem to be too heavy. Even the other characters, which are more flashier than Cliff, had a reasonable amount of particle effects on them. Speaking of which, let's talk about those characters. For the longest time, I thought Cliff was the only main playable character. I think most of the people did too, seeing that many people are making YouTube shorts about it. I think I saw like 20 shorts just today alone. So in this overview trailer, the studio showcased two new playable characters. One was a woman holding a giant or great sword, but she seemed to be swinging it with pace and dodging and weaving around enemies, switching to sidearms, which was a revolver mid-battle during her dodges. It looked cool is what I was trying to say. She was supposed to be a fast, agile, quick character, running around enemies' attacks and striking them down. If that is the case, I actually love the great sword idea with her. It seems so out of place, but also looks cool at the same time. Then they showed us what seems to be a brute or bruiser type, one who just goes in without dodging and deals massive AoE damage, like he held a giant hand cannon at the start and then started bashing everyone with an axe, so like a slower, heavier, damage-focused character. There are different weapons in the game. I am excited to see whether or not every kind of weapon is wieldable by every character. Like the greatsword might not be the default weapon for the woman, but maybe the player playing it just equipped it. It does sound interesting if that is the case, but if it's not, then the game is trying something like Lies of P-style gameplay, where Cliff would be the more balanced type with a shield and a short sword, the lady would be the fast-paced but lesser damage one, and then the big guy with the big heavy attacks. I like it. They also showed us the 5 main areas in the game. What was shocking, I mean, not really shocking, but interesting, was that the Crimson Desert, the actual desert of the game, is only a single small area of the giant map they've created. I thought the world was called Crimson Desert. I don't know. But this trailer showed us that there will be 5 major areas, like a snowy mountainous area, a forest area, and much more. This is not like a big thing, there are way too many games that do that, but it might just be me, the environments looked kinda similar everywhere. I mean, they did not show like a full walk around, and some of the areas, like the one with the giant tree monster, looked really unique and cool, but the rest looked a little similar. That does not mean I'm saying it's bad, it still looks amazing. Speaking of areas, let's talk about the map. Pearl Abyss said that the map is big, like very big. They said it's twice the size of Skyrim. I mean, that's huge. They even said that it's even bigger than Red Dead Redemption. This statement was the big talk for many weeks if I recall correctly, but I don't really know what it means. Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla had huge maps. Huge maps doesn't necessarily mean a better game, but the game looked like it was built to accommodate this huge open world, like there are many things spread around the game for the player to explore. It also sounds interesting because there does not seem to be a new object after every inch you walk like in Valhalla. I will talk about quests and NPCs a little later, but from what I've heard and seen so far, Pearl Abyss's approach to making big maps fun does seem to have worked, at least for the players who got the chance to play the game. So we talked about how great the map and the environment looks, right? That's because it was recorded on PC with maybe a juiced up overclocked 5090 or something. However, reading the specs required for this game, I was actually genuinely taken aback. On Steam, it says the minimum required is i5 8600 or Ryzen 5 2600X, both of which are like super old now. And for the GPU, it says it requires a minimum of 1060, GTX 1060, or a 6500 XT. I mean, these are very low requirements for a game as ambitious as this. I know these are minimum requirements, which means the specs for running the game may be low graphics at 1080, but it's still impressive to aim for 1060 in 2026. Saying that, it must be because they have a whole new engine created for the game itself. So back in 2019, when the game was announced, I thought I heard that it was being made in Unreal Engine, but the developers were not satisfied with the limitations of the engine. I heard the devs complaining about the engine not letting them render very far away objects, not giving them options to not lower the resolution for the far off objects like trees and other stuff. So they decided to ditch that and made their own engine, which gave them the freedom to do absolutely anything. And after that, they just went ham on the game. 200 or so NPC fights, massive maps rendering during flight, and just so many other cool stuff. Now, who in their right mind would think that if you implement all this crazy stuff, they could keep the requirements low? I thought it would have required something like 3080s or something to run in 1080. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but I did think that at least an RTX card would be the minimum, but hearing it 1060 as the entry point just made my day. With all the PC component prices going through the roof, it's good to hear that people won't have to sell an arm and a leg to play this game. It seems to be super well optimized. That can also be concluded as the game reached content complete 2 months before the release, which means they have 2 months to optimize every little thing they find, fix any major and minor bugs. The only big company I heard of that did this was Rockstar. They focus a lot of time in polishing their game to the point that they would delay their game even if it's finished to polish a few minor bugs, which is great. If this one comes out as a polished, great-looking, mechanically satisfying game, it could win Game of the Year this year. The fact that also surprises me is that Crimson Desert started its journey as an MMORPG. I don't really remember, but was 2019 the year for MMOs? Because there were only a few good ones that I can remember from then. Anyway, since then, the game kept on changing, developing, progressing, and then finally we now have a content-complete game that's almost ready to come out in just over a month's time. The good thing about this is that since MMOs have a lot of work done in a short amount of time and they need to make them as polished as possible for people to enjoy them and spend money on them, they do tend to make smooth games. However, transitioning from that to a single-player game which has completely different focus areas might also be a challenge itself. The story plays an important role for many players in single-player games. MMOs don't really have mind-blowing, super engaging storytelling, but I think this game's story, from what I heard in the trailer, does seem to be a bit on the generic side. You collect these shards from the bosses and other hidden areas, upgrade, and then go to the Abyss world to beat the final stage. While there is a lot of content in between, I do hope they have a good story. Aside from that, the mechanics of the game looks great. The fights, the enemies, all seem to have good animations and attacks. Another point towards Crimson Desert is that they promise some ambitious things, but then come up at some event with the actual gameplay of it. They actually go ahead and implement them in-game and get it in the hands of actual players for them to try it out. I mean, I don't think anyone could deny that that's the best way to promote anything. They do, however, have very high expectations from themselves and also from the audience. All the gameplay, all the footage and trailers have built up a great amount of hype around it, and people, including me, are very excited for it. It won't be something like Highguard or Concord, as the little amount of gameplay people already have has gotten way more exciting than those two. So I hope that their lack of experience making single-player games does not harm the success of this game. Now I want to talk about the NPCs. They once showed a 200 NPC battle, all doing their own thing, which is pretty amazing. I don't know how they managed to do that, but it was really amazing. That's why I said the game promises some really ambitious things and then delivers them, blowing every doubt out of the water. In the trailer, the devs said that side quests and NPC quests vary from securing strong points to helping a merchant to reach a town. It can also happen anywhere in the world, kind of like Dragon's Dogma 2. The NPC's behavior might also behave differently according to the faction they belong to. Yes, there are factions in this game, and each faction has some area that they occupy or have conquered. They gave a very good example of it where a whole area was blocked off by one of the factions, and only after defeating their leader was the area opened up. Very cool in my opinion. Also, based on the faction, a friendly faction NPC might give you quests along your journey. There are also faction wars that are happening in the map. As we've already talked about, these NPCs are scattered around the world. There are also hidden caves and puzzles which won't be marked on the map and you would have to find them. I love how recently many of the big games are coming from these smaller companies. I know Pearl Abyss is not a small indie company having a massive MMO Black Desert Online under their belt already, but it's still a lesser-known company compared to the big ones like Ubisoft or Blizzard. I love how different companies are now making the biggest games and not some money-funneling media to milk the players out of their inheritance. Also, this game is coming out before GTA 6. How crazy is that? Oh, I almost forgot. You can ride on a freaking dragon later on in the story. That was the best part of the trailer. I just hope it's not an endgame content and we get to ride it like way earlier. There is also a giant mech you can ride and battle with, which is also cool, but not as cool as the dragon.